King Harald of Norway has spent decades as one of Europe's most recognizable and enduring monarchs, but the haunting questions around his final moments have created an atmosphere of uncertainty that no public figure, no matter how experienced, could ever completely prepare for. For years, King Harald has represented continuity, tradition, and a modern approach to monarchy, standing at the center of Norway's national life through moments of celebration, political change, personal challenges, and periods of serious concern about his health. Yet, when people begin to think about the final chapter of a figure who has been present for so long, the conversation can quickly become emotional, unsettling, and filled with unanswered questions. What would those final moments look like? Who would be at his side? Would the nation know immediately? Or would there first be a period of silence behind the palace walls? And perhaps most importantly, how does an entire country prepare to say farewell to a monarch whose presence has stretched across generations? The story of King Harald is not simply the story of a king. It is a story of a man who inherited an institution built on centuries of tradition and then became part of a changing modern world. As Norway's head of state, he has witnessed enormous changes in society while remaining one of the country's most symbolic figures. His life has unfolded under constant public attention, but the most personal and vulnerable moments have often remained behind the walls of official residences, hospitals, and private family spaces. That contrast between public duty and private humanity becomes especially powerful when discussions turn toward illness, aging, mortality, and the possibility of a final farewell. A king may represent a nation, but behind the title is still a husband, a father, a grandfather, and a human being whose closest family members experience events very differently from the public watching outside. And that is where the story becomes more emotional. When a major royal figure faces periods of declining health or serious medical concern, every public appearance can suddenly carry greater meaning. A wave, a smile, a brief speech, or even the simple act of appearing before a crowd can lead people to wonder how the person is truly feeling away from the cameras. For supporters, those moments can bring reassurance, but they can also create a strange sense of fear, because everyone understands that time eventually changes even the most familiar faces in public life. King Harald's long reign has given Norwegians a sense of stability, and perhaps that is why the thought of his final moments feels so difficult to imagine. For many people, he has simply always been there. His image, his voice, and his role in major national occasions have become part of the background of Norwegian life. But there is something deeply unsettling about the realization that even the strongest symbols of continuity are not permanent. Eventually, every reign reaches a moment when the focus shifts from the responsibilities of leadership to the legacy left behind. And when that moment approaches, the atmosphere can feel almost surreal. There may be official preparations that have existed for years, carefully planned procedures, constitutional responsibilities, family discussions, and national protocols. Yet no amount of preparation can fully remove the human emotion of the moment itself. The final hours of a monarch would not simply be another item on an official schedule. Behind every carefully controlled announcement would be a family facing an intensely personal experience, while an entire nation waits for confirmation. That contrast is what makes the possibility of such a moment feel so haunting. Outside, there could be silence, speculation, and a constant search for information. Inside, there could be private conversations, memories, concern, and a difficult awareness that history may be changing in real time. And until an official announcement is made, no outsider can truly know what is happening behind closed doors. That is why caution matters whenever stories begin circulating about a royal figure's supposed final moments. Rumors can spread quickly, especially when the subject is a famous monarch whose health has attracted public attention. A canceled appearance, a period away from public duties, or an unexpected medical update can suddenly become the source of dramatic speculation. But speculation is not confirmation. The difference between a serious health concern and an actual final moment is enormous. And no story should erase that difference simply to create a more dramatic narrative. The mystery surrounding royal life often makes these situations even more intense. Palaces are built around tradition, privacy, and carefully managed communication. The public may only see the final official statement after the most emotional private moments have already taken place. If the day ever came when Norway had to prepare for the passing of King Harald, the announcement itself would represent far more than a piece of breaking news. It would mark the end of an era and the beginning of another. Flags would likely become symbols of national mourning. Public places could become gathering points for people wishing to pay their respects, and memories from decades of public life will return through photographs, speeches, and moments that once seemed ordinary but would suddenly carry a completely different meaning. Yet before any national ceremony or official tribute, there would be a more private story unfolding. There would be the people closest to him, facing not the loss of a monarch, but the possible loss of someone they loved. That is something the public can sometimes forget when history unfolds in front of millions of viewers. A royal farewell may eventually become a national event, but the first goodbye belongs to the family. The title of king can define a public legacy, but it cannot replace the personal bonds that exist behind the title. And perhaps that is the most haunting part of imagining the final moments of a monarch. The entire world may be waiting outside, but the most important moments could happen in complete silence, far away from cameras and official ceremonies. There may be no dramatic speech, no perfectly written final statement, and no way for the public to understand exactly what those last private moments meant. History often records dates, locations, and official announcements, but it rarely captures every quiet conversation or every emotion experienced by those closest to the person at the center of the event. That silence can make the unknown feel almost spooky, not because of anything supernatural, but because of the strange emptiness that surrounds a moment nobody outside the room can witness. For a nation, the passing of a monarch creates a visible change. The succession moves forward, ceremonies are held, tributes are shared, and a new chapter officially begins. But emotionally, the transition is far more complicated. People who have spent their entire lives seeing the same monarch as a national symbol may suddenly have to adjust to a new reality. The familiar becomes history. Old footage is replayed. Past speeches are heard again with new meaning. Moments that were once simply part of daily news become part of a legacy. And for King Harald, whose reign has covered such a long period of modern Norwegian history, that transition would carry extraordinary emotional weight. His story has included not only the formal responsibilities of monarchy, but also the personal choices and challenges that helped shape the image of a royal family adapting to a changing world. That legacy would not disappear in a single announcement. It would continue through memories, historical records, the royal family, and the generations who remember where they were during the most important moments of his reign. Still, the thought of final farewell always brings the same difficult question. Can anyone ever truly be ready? Nations can prepare protocols. Governments can organize ceremonies. Royal households can plan every detail. But preparation is not the same as emotional readiness. The closer a historic moment comes, the more complicated it becomes. There's a point where official procedure ends and personal emotion takes over. And that may be the real mystery surrounding any discussion of King Harald's final moments. Not the imagined details that people may try to create, and not the rumors that can spread through public conversation, but the unknown human experience behind one of the world's most recognizable titles. Until confirmed information says otherwise, King Harald remains a living part of Norway's story, and his current status should not be replaced by invented claims about events that have not been officially confirmed. But the questions surrounding mortality, legacy, and the eventual end of historic reign remain powerful because they force people to look beyond the crown. They remind us that even a king, surrounded by centuries of tradition and national symbolism, is still part of family and still faces the same passage of time that touches everyone. And if the day ever comes when Norway must say its final farewell, the world may witness the ceremonies, the tributes, and the historic transition. But the true final moments may remain known only to those who were closest to him. Perhaps that is what makes the idea so haunting. Long after the official words are spoken and the history books record the date, there will still be memories that belong to family members, private moments that will never become headlines, and a silence that no public ceremony can fully explain. King Harald's legacy would then move from the present into history, but the human story behind that legacy would remain far more personal. And in the end, the most powerful part of any final farewell may not be the crown, the palace, or the ceremony watched by millions. It may be the quiet realization that an era has ended, a family has said goodbye, and a nation is left to remember the man who carried one of its most important roles for so many years.